Hello, everyone. Welcome to Self Published Success, a show that highlights forward thinking authors who choose self publishing over traditional and find success in doing so. My name is John Feldman. I'm the founder and CEO of Visionary Literary and your host for today's show. Today's guest is Luke Andrews. Luke is a real estate entrepreneur who sells, leads, and invests. He purchased 40 rental properties before his 40th birthday and has used what he's learned to assist up-and-coming real estate agents in transforming their business, helping multiple agents reach $200,000 in commissions in their first full year. Luke has taken what he's learned and self-published several best-selling books in the self-help and real estate categories. He has a passion for trying to change lives through real estate and wishes to share his process so that his readers can replicate his success. Luke, welcome to the show.
Hey, so glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you and to hear more about your career and your success and your self-publishing journey. So, can you start out by telling us a little bit more about yourself? What got you into, buying those 40 properties, and then what got you into the desire to share your process through books?
Sure. So, like most things, it all starts relatively small and then just kind of snowballs, right? I was in a corporate 9 to 5 and had a good friend. We were both interested in real estate investing, something we talked about on a regular basis, and we were looking in an area of town that was up and coming, but you could still get a decent little property, but needed some work to it for relatively cheap. Our plan was just to come in, pay cash, and do the majority of the work ourselves, and then just kind of gradually work our way into the business. While we were in the process of trying to identify the right property, he happened to be having dinner with his girlfriend's parents, and some of their friends were there. And as he was talking about our dreams of real estate investing, they said, well, we're actually liquidating our portfolio and moving out of state. They wanted to retire. And so we went from trying to buy, one property to all of a sudden a package of 13 rentals fell into our lap. And then so we were at a spot where it was like, okay, we know this is a great deal. We know this is a great investment, but we have no idea what the hell we're doing. We have no idea where we're going to get the money. We have no idea how to actually navigate this process. But we started small. We started asking smarter people than us who had done it before what they had done, and really just started replicating those steps. We leveraged relationships and introductions and figured out a way to make it work, and it has grown and scaled significantly over the last several years.
That's awesome. That is an incredible story. So, question that is for this show kind of way out in left field, but something that sparked in my mind. So, you said that the 13 properties are being liquidated. Was that like just at the beginning of your journey, was this like a seller finance type deal, or did you have to come up with creative ways to get the money for 13 properties?
We had to come up with creative ways to get the money. They were not in a position to where they wanted to do an owner financing. They wanted lump sum cash on the front side. They
Wow.
weren't looking for, kind of residual income over time with us paying. So we had to go through and had to figure out, okay, how in the hell are we going to do this thing?
Wow. All right. For 13 properties. Yeah. So, for anyone listening who doesn't know, seller finance is, and Luke, correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically the previous owner of the house allows you to finance and you just make payments to them. They're basically the bank instead
That's
of having to get involved.
100% correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, ideally, when you're first starting out, and it's funny that I say this because I don't have any rental properties, so this is not advice. But ideally, if seller finance when you're starting out is a good route to take if you want to avoid taking on all that debt with a bank. Correct?
It's a great way to do it. You just want to make sure that you've got an attorney drafting up the documents, because I've seen it go south for a couple of people that there was some language in there that they didn't fully understand that turns out now isn't entirely legal, but it's it can be a very, very great option. And it's, much like anything else, much like writing and publishing a book, you just kind of have to take small steps, and sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith and just figure it out as you go.
Good. Well, speaking of taking a leap of faith, right? So obviously you learned a lot in your journey, right? And you decided that one, you wanted to help other people, so you want to help real estate agents, and then you also put some of this information into book form. So what drove you to really want to help in both of those ways?
Well, I've always been a helper, somebody who enjoyed, teaching, mentoring, leading, those things there. And I was in a phase in my life where I was looking to make some big changes, some big career changes, and looking at moving from the corporate space to an entrepreneurial space. Obviously very risky. So I'm out and I'm trying to find what I call virtual mentors, which are basically just, people that I don't know, but who I know are very, very successful. So your Gary V's, your Grant Cardones, people like that you can follow on social media, books, everything else.
Yeah.
And you know, they've got some great advice, but a lot of it is just really, really big, giant steps. Grant Cardone, for instance, will tell you if it's real estate and a certain type of real estate, and that person lives in, the person who's done it the best lives in Miami, you just need to sell all your belongings, move to Miami, and then agree to work for him for free for a year, learn everything that you can, and then you'll be on your way, which is fantastic. And that is absolutely the best way to shorten and flatten that learning curve. But when you're married and you have two kids and a mortgage, and you can't just pick up and move to another city and work for free for a year. I mean, the grocery store and the mortgage company don't accept hugs and good feelings. They want cash, right?
Right, right.
Um, so I thought there's got to be a better way for people like me that can do this, because I know there's a lot of people in my shoes. And so really I just kind of started documenting my journey of, how can I take small little steps on a daily basis and turn those into, big incremental leaps over time. And once I got through the process and I realized that it was successful, I just kind of kicked around the idea one day and happened to tell somebody, say it out loud, like, "Hey, I think this would help people. I'd like to put it in a book form. Maybe I'll write a book." And they laughed right in my face. I said, somebody who'd known me since we were little, who was like, "Hey, you barely passed English class. You don't know anything about writing. You don't know anything about publishing. Who's even going to sign you as an author? How are you going to sell this thing? How are you going to do it?" And that's when I got that wild hair that was like, "Okay, well, I'll show you. Tell me I can't do something. I'll turn around and go do it." And then so I just, much like the rental properties, I had to figure out, how can I do this? There's got to be a way. How can I do it?
Right. So I guess from there, then what were your first steps?
I, probably like 99% of people who don't know how to do something, the first step is you type into Google,
Yeah.
"How do you write a book?" Right?
Right.
And then I stumbled upon Amazon's self-publishing methods. And I started looking into it, and I was like, it's probably still a little challenging, because like I tried in the past, like, okay, well, maybe I want to create a website or something. And,
Mhm.
you go to these companies that are like, "Hey, if you use our program, it really is just plug and play. It is as simple as can be. Any idiot can make a website with this." And I failed on numerous of those. I'm like, okay, if any idiot can do it and I can't figure it out, how stupid am I? Right. But I just had this feeling on the inside that it just kind of kept gnawing at me. And I just kept thinking and trying. And where uh, I had the information down, I kind of understood the publishing process and how it worked through Amazon. But believe it or not, like, I'm not techie at all. Where I was really struggling was getting it formatted. Like, I couldn't get it formatted in the way it was like, every time I think I did exactly what I needed to do, and I'd Google, "How do I get it here, here, and here?" I'd upload it, and Amazon would kick it back and say, "That's not right."
Yeah.
And so it was just like, okay, I'm at another roadblock here. Maybe something's telling me I shouldn't do this. And I was reading a book at the time called Bold by Stephen Kotler and Peter Diamandis, and they kept talking about kind of this shared gig economy, and they kept talking about Fiverr. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just take a glance at Fiverr. I found somebody in Russia who I sent them over a Google Doc, and they formatted it for me in the exact format that I needed for $50, had it turned around in 2 days. And then they said, oh, hey, do you need a cover also? We'll design a cover for another $90. And I was like, well, hell yeah, I'll need a cover. Every book needs a cover, right?
Yeah.
So I had them do that. So for, I mean, like $140, something that I had spent like a week and a half on, which I'm embarrassed to admit that I spent a week and a half trying to format a document. Um, but for $140, they got that taken care of, and I uploaded it to Amazon, and it was like, shoot, I'm done. That's it. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, there are definitely the gig economy is beneficial today between even with writing. I mean, obviously you want quality writing when you're going to publish a book, but you can find on Upwork and Fiverr, like you can find up and coming writers, discounted writers, and formatting for what $50 when you spent a week and a half trying to
Yeah.
do that. So we are definitely lucky to be living in a time where everything is so easily accessible.
Mhm.
Talent pools are vast, so we can reach out to global talent pools for discounted prices to help. So I'm glad that you stumbled upon that and didn't spend more than your week and a half to figure it out. But what was your so I guess what happened first off? Why like so you stumbled upon Amazon, right, and self-publishing. Had you come across any of your Google research that said reach out to a literary agent or submit query letters to publishers? Did anything about the traditional process pop up for you and come your way?
It did, but to be honest, I kind of breezed right past that. Is as I said, it was I'm not the most skilled writer by any means, and I even have a disclaimer at the beginning of my book that says, "Hey, if you're here looking for the absolute best grammar, sentence structure, paragraph structure, you're probably in the wrong place. I write like I talk. I'm just here to spread some information, and so if you're going to get hung up on that, you're definitely in the wrong spot." And so I immediately discounted all of those options because I figured, why spend my time? No one is going to want to sign somebody like me.
Okay. Yeah. So you did, you avoided a very long, lengthy process. So, and a lot of people have that sort of, imposter syndrome. You feel like the information that you have in a book isn't, like you said, benefit, or maybe not the information, but the writing style might not be something, sign worthy for a literary agent. But you fell into the right category, right? You self published your book, you kept that creative control. What has happened with the book, and what are you really looking to do with you have two books, correct?
I have three.
Three books. So what are you looking to accomplish with those three books that the listener can take?
Well, I mean, for me, the writing is just a very therapeutic piece of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I found that through the first book. I found that it was therapeutic. It was a way for me to just kind of get my ideas out on paper, and it was something good. These were little things that I could do that I could go out and I could bring back to my team. As we're in one-on-ones or team meetings, or like, hey, you're stuck on this. Well, why don't you try something here? And it was basically just something that I worked out on paper, trying to think about the book. Um, Now, the second book really kind of came out of necessity. It was less about actually selling it, and it really was more for me. I was big on journaling, and I was trying to find the right guided journal for what I was looking for. And it was like every journal that I picked up would have like 50% or 70% of what I wanted or needed, but nothing really had everything that I was looking for. And the light bulb goes off one day and says, well, hey, you've self-published a book before. If there's something you want from a journal, just make it, right?
Yeah.
Just go create it. And so I basically I went to a whiteboard and I just kind of drew out a page and said, okay, well, I'd want A, B, C, D, and E right here. Um, I took a picture of that and sent it out to somebody on Fiverr, and they formatted a journal for me. I sent it over to Amazon and use it less as a sales piece because I haven't really sold many of those, and more just as a, hey, if I need a new journal, I can go onto Amazon, I can click purchase, and for a few bucks, I've got one at my door within a couple of days.
Yeah.
So that was book number two. Like I said, it's more of a guided journal, but it was just all about what did I need at that moment, and understood and realized that I could just build it myself.
Good. So with regard to either your business or books, what's coming down the line for you? What's next?
So I just recently created my third book, and it was one that I decided to do as strictly an ebook
Okay.
and didn't even put it on Amazon. I bought a cheap domain and allowed people to go, and then they can put in they put in their email address, and then they can download the book for free. So it was a way for me, one, to build my email list, but two, it was also just a way of, because the third book was all about the mistakes that I made getting started in real estate investing.
Okay.
And I'm super passionate about real estate investing and think that it's something that everyone should at least consider. But I wanted to kind of take some of the myths, some of the fear out of it and say, hey, these are the mistakes that a lot of people made. One, you can avoid the pitfalls, but two, you can see the mistakes that I made and my clients have made and understand that you can still be successful even after making them. They don't have to be catastrophic. Um, and because I'm so passionate about it, it was something that I wanted just to make sure that I could spread as wide as possible. And so I was like, hey, I want to just give this away. And really the most efficient way to do that was to do it as a downloadable ebook.
Good. Yeah. So real estate investing, I mean, everyone who has not done it, it obviously, when you're dealing with real estate, there seems to be a lot of money involved, lots of risk. So you putting together something that kind of walks readers through, it's almost like a safety net. So
Yeah.
I have to ask, the creative ways that you came up with financing for the 13 properties, is that process that inside any of your books?
Yep, it is.
Which one?
It's inside the third book, the one that's all about real estate investing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cause that can
And
be huge. That's a big safety net to, kind of learn and to get into your head and see what went through that process. So what is that website where people can find that book?
10investormistakes.com, and it's the number 10. So
Okay.
10investormistakes.com, you pop in your email address and you can download it immediately for free. It's a read that, I mean, if you read fairly quickly, you could probably be done in 25 to 35 minutes.
Okay. Excellent. And I'll put that in the show description notes for the listeners too. So, Luke, where else can we find you?
You can find me on, Instagram. I'm fairly active there at Luke Andrews RE for real estate. Or if you just go to my website, lukeandrews.us, there are links where you can get my books, you can find courses, or you can just connect with me on social media or send me an email directly, luke@lukeandrews.us. I answer all of my own emails. So if anybody has any questions just on publishing a book or real estate investing, or you know how do you make it through life being pretty ugly, I mean, I've got experience in all those things. I can help you with any of that. I'm happy to share any information that I can. So
Excellent. Well, Luke, thank you. Obviously, real estate has made, more than any other industry, has made people successful and wealthy. So it's something that I'm glad that you are taking what you've learned and your success and putting it into books and your website and helping people because, certainly it can help others. So I appreciate you being on the show. It was a great conversation. Thank you for your time.
thanks for having me. It was fun.